The war in Ukraine has divided the world, but India has so far maintained its no-bias policy. This even as Moscow has been a strong ally of New Delhi for decades. Russia has agreed to listen to India if New Delhi decides to mediate in the war. The Russian ambassador to India, Denis Alipov, says Moscow is open to serious talks to end the war diplomatically. Alipov said Russia will listen to India closely if New Delhi does get involved.
We have maintained that we are open to negotiations. The Ukrainians have restricted that and forbade that legally to speak with Russia, and are supported by the US and Europe on that.
Speaking on Russia-India ties, Alipov agreed that there is some stress due to the ongoing geopolitical shifting in the world. However, the economic relations between the two countries continue despite this situation. The Russian ambassador also confirmed that the third shipment of S-400 missile systems will be done on time, while India has emphasized on a peaceful resolution to the Ukraine war. New Delhi has refrained from supplying military aid to Ukraine or imposing sanctions on Russia. The US also agreed with India's stance of peace in Ukraine. Washington believes that countries like India, which have relationships with both Russia and Ukraine, are in a position to help bring about dialogue and diplomacy that could eventually end the war. For more on this, we are now joined by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal from New Delhi. Siddhant, it's not very often that the Russian ambassador speaks, especially since the war began last year. But today he's saying Moscow will listen to New Delhi. Explain that to our viewers. Put it into perspective. What exactly did the ambassador mean by that?
Well, a very free and frank conversation by the Russian ambassador Denis Alipov here in Delhi, and in response to a question that how does he sees India's role when it comes to Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now, we know last year the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Russian President Vladimir Putin met in Samarkand on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and the Indian Prime Minister said that this is not an era of war, a phrase that has since stuck, especially when it comes to the global leaders who have been talking about this specific phrase. The phrase also made it into the G20 joint statement, and it is believed that India can play an important role given its strong relationship with Russia. We know that India has been one of the few major countries who have taken a neutral stance when it comes to the conflict, and of course while the conflict rages, has been speaking to both the Russian side and the Ukrainian side. This year India holds a G20 summit. The big question is that will the Russian President Vladimir Putin attend the G20 summit after missing it for 2 years, and also of course how India can use the world diplomatic stage for resolving the crisis, the ongoing crisis. So the fact that the Russian ambassador has said that we will listen to India is a very strong statement that also reassures that Moscow has a very close relationship with New Delhi and it's keen to grow that strong relationship.
Right, a very interesting statement indeed. Let's see how this plays out in the coming days. Thanks very much, Siddhant, for those details.